The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, good morning, everyone. This is Sam from the National Weather Service in Wakefield. We'll do our Thursday morning weekly briefing here. So, really expecting pretty quiet weather through the end of the week into the weekend, and then really not looking like any significant wet weather through most of the forecast period. We do have a couple chances both Sunday and maybe early next week, but other than that, it's looking mainly dry. A couple of key points here. Just want to highlight that our growing season has officially ended for the entire area this fall, so we will not be issuing any more frost freeze headlines. That was after that really cold morning, Monday night into Tuesday morning of this week. So for today, we are expected to remain breezy and again on the dry side. So with the dry and breezy conditions that, if it's been dry, it can elevate the fire danger. So we do have an increased fire danger statement that we did issue this morning, and that's in effect until 5 p.m. today. So expecting wind gusts, up to 30 miles per hour for a good portion of the area. Like I said, mainly dry conditions as we head into the weekend, especially the first part of the weekend, but we are expecting kind of a series of cold fronts to move through from Saturday night through Sunday, and that could bring just a low chance for a rain shower or two, especially across the northern portions of our area. And then looking ahead into early next week, we should be dry later Sunday into Monday, but another low chance for rain will arrive Tuesday into Tuesday night with a kind of quick wave of low pressure moving through. I'll talk about the marine stuff here as we get to the end of the presentation. But, before I get into this, just want to show a look at our current satellite here. So we did have some, orographic clouds that were, present over the area this morning as the flow was moving over the mountains, but expect these to kind of diminish as we have already seen this morning, and then that's going to lead to mostly sunny skies for the rest of today. So as I mentioned, there is an increased fire danger statement in effect, and it's at this point just for our Virginia counties, mainland Virginia counties west of the bay. We kind of did leave out the eastern shore since the humidity looks a little higher over there, but again, looking at minimum relative humidities between 20 and 30%. Lowest should be out here in the Piedmont west of 95, but 20 to 30% still dry for most of the area. And then those wind gusts out of the west southwest up to 30 miles per hour. So that is through 5 p.m. And then, just with the dry and breezy conditions, just take it easy with any activities outside that involve fire, as anything could spread pretty quickly. For tomorrow, we do look, similarly dry, but the winds will be considerably lighter. So really don't expect another one of these statements tomorrow, but we will keep monitoring for any potential for that. Looking ahead for the, weather pattern next couple of days into the weekend and early next week. So, dry today, tomorrow, high pressure is remaining in control. Same thing for Saturday. And then, as we get into Sunday, as I mentioned, we'll have a couple fronts move through, one early in the morning and then another one in the, potentially in the afternoon on Sunday. And the one in the morning could bring just a chance for a shower or two across the north. But, ahead of that front, it will get quite warm. So temperatures, rebound into the 70s by Sunday. So should feel quite nice. And then, that dry weather returns on Monday behind those fronts. And then, not shown here, but, a low chance of rain again on Tuesday. While we do have a couple chances of rain, as I mentioned, really not looking like a ton of rain if it does fall. So just a few hundredths to, maybe up to a tenth of an inch. Pretty breezy today. Here's a look at our maximum wind gusts. So generally 25 to 30 miles per hour locally, maybe a bit higher, especially on the eastern shore, up to maybe 35 miles per hour. But those winds should, decrease as we approach the evening hours of today, especially tonight. And then, definitely not looking as gusty for tomorrow with, wind gusts peaking up to maybe 20 miles per hour. And then, ahead of that front on Sunday, that's when it gets quite breezy again. So could be looking at widespread gusts to 30 miles per hour on Sunday, and that would be out of the southwest. In terms of our temperatures and chance of rain trends next couple days, again, dry through Saturday, just northern portions of the area need to look out for a shower or two on Sunday, but really looking like the best chance for the whole area to get rain would be next Tuesday and Tuesday night, but I'm still looking at some timing differences across the model. So, it's not set in stone, but at this point, we're kind of carrying a, low end chance, 30% for most of the area. In terms of the temperatures, should it feel quite decent today in the low to, potentially mid 60s, and similar for tomorrow, maybe a degree or two cooler. And then we do rebound for the weekend, Saturday, and then especially Sunday, which is when we have a good deal of the those 70s in the forecast. And then, behind that front on Sunday, kind of a return back to what we would expect for this time of year. So around 60 degrees. Overnight lows. So tonight will be quite chilly. So, most of the areas, away from the water should drop at or below freezing, but not too cold, generally down to, the upper 20s at the coldest spots. And then those low overnight lows also moderate as we head into the weekend, and then just, typical lows as we get into the early and middle portions of next week. In terms of the temperature outlook, we do have above normal temperatures favored from later next week into next weekend, and then just near normal to potentially slightly above normal temperatures, precipitation, sorry. And then shifting gears here to the marine, with those gusty winds today, we are expecting small craft advisory conditions, especially in the northern portions of the Chesapeake Bay, and then also the northern portions of the coastal waters, mainly north of Cape Charles today. And then kind of diminishing the lower marine threat on Friday. And then as we get into later Saturday and especially Sunday, that's when those southwest winds pick up. And then here we have the maximum wind gusts over the next 3 days. So, again, marginal small craft advisory conditions today with gusts up to 25 knots for the most part. And then we kind of have sub-advisory conditions through most of Saturday, most of Friday and Saturday, and then gusty again by Sunday. And then definitely I'm expecting those advisory level conditions for Sunday. I'll just leave this here for a quick glance. And then with that offshore wind direction we were seeing today, the seas are not too high, especially near shore, but they do, kind of peak in the 3 to 4 foot range as you get 10 to 20 miles offshore. But the waves in the seas will begin to trend down as the winds decrease. Then they do pick up again with the elevated winds Sunday into Monday. That's all I have. Again, really not too much to talk about, but I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any.